Hey, everybody, welcome back to your Dawn of Autonomy podcast. I'm Dawn Zoldi, your host, CEO of P3 Tech Consulting, and publisher at Autonomy Global. It is the end of November, everybody, actually, the day before Thanksgiving in the United States, and I am thankful for all of you. And I'm, of course, thankful for our month sponsor, Teal. For this month, we've dedicated to a theme of enablers, too. And today we have with us Johnny Ryan. He's from a place called North Dakota, and and a really neat organization and location called the Hive. And when you think about enablers, this thing is an accelerator for emerging technologies and doing just great stuff. Not just here. I'm going to preview something in the United States, not just here, but also abroad. So we're going to learn all about this today. And Johnny, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Don. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this is part four of a Grand Sky series. And we appreciate Grand Sky and all the amazing things that they're bringing to the fight in terms of the drone industry, advanced air mobility, and all those enablers like the Hive. So, Johnny, tell everybody a little bit about yourself before we get into the Hive.
Sure. Yeah, my background is software, coding, hardware development, anything from Raspberry Pis to automated drone systems, tethered drone systems. I have a company that I built a tethered drone system for active shooter deployments and kind of perimeter safety. But yeah, getting into anything coding, AI, hardware, software, IoT, it's kind of been my gambit, if you will, for the last 15 years. In and out of some Samsung companies that were bought by Samsung, and now back to North Dakota to jump right into all the UAS opportunities here for the last 7 years. So it's
I love that. Oh, I just had companies that, Samsung bought, and I just had a company that designed some tethered drone for security. I mean, come on. Anyway, hey, I want to say this is live, and we've got our buddy and super fan Fire Mech Tech Rob out there saying good morning, Dawn and Johnny. Good morning, Rob. Rob's out in California, and appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for chiming in. So, John, you're now the director of innovation and operations at the Hive.
Yep.
So tell us exactly, what is this thing called the Hive?
Sure. So yeah, the way the Hive started, there's an old historic newspaper building that the city of Grand Forks ended up owning. It had been the print newspaper and printing press for a number of years, and as that became more digital, the need for their space kind of lessened, and so an opportunity came actually before the Hive where I really needed for my own company building the automated drone in a box for active shooter. I needed a really high speed upload connection, and there was this kind of half abandoned building that was very historic, but they had the connection that I could use to work on my product. And so I had actually signed a lease to come into the building with the city of Grand Forks and use the internet. And one other drone company had done the same at the same time. And so I was already in the building. It doesn't look like it does now. It was a little bit boiler room, kind of abandoned, with Ethernet cables everywhere and old cubicles. And so I, for a couple $100, was able to take over this huge space to do my kind of mad scientist tinkering, building this drone and the software to manage this automated system. And so I was already in the building, and yeah, the mayor of Grand Forks, a good friend of mine, approached me and said, "Hey, I want to do this initiative, go, kind of very narrow, all in focus on UAS and make a place for all these kind of in-person interactions to happen and all these connections and electrons, if you want to call it." And so I basically handed off all the kind of reins of my own company to my partners in California, and started the Hive. So we're 2.5 years in from when we could actually sign a lease. We had a few specific tenants that I had kind of found ahead of time while we're still in construction that saw the vision, that like the Grand Skies and Eyesight, Drone Services, Detect Radar, a couple companies that really were, understood the vision. And so they were ready to go before we even could sign a lease. And so we're 2.5 years now into that. And we just recently moved from being under the public or under the city, management of the mayor's office, and now we're private. So we're, kind of off and running, and now there's kind of no looking back. So I've been the one-man band with some other good help along the way from the city of Grand Forks, support from the mayor, a couple other kind of part-time employees, but really it's just been just kind of figuring out as we go from day one, just no blueprint and trying to bring the energy and the actual doers to Grand Forks, people leading the charge, building things. And so that's the answer you'll get right now. I'm sure it changes every time you ask me.
No, I love, it's a great story because, you had a vision for what it was going to be. I mean, you go into this almost semi-abandoned building that had great internet for whatever reason. And, you get this charge from the mayor to like, hey, let's make this into something. And more than just a maker space, I want to elaborate on that in a second, or more than just kind of a co-working location, right? This Hive is much bigger than that. I had the opportunity, Johnny. I mean, we met in person last year. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the UAS summit this year. But I was at the Hive last year. Super impressive, giant space. When you think about those collaborative workspaces, kind of in the tech world, Silicon Valley, with the kind of the shared kitchen and like the big, kind of conference space, and then side spaces, and then a maker space, and all kinds of things. I mean, you really build it out for all of these things. So can you walk us through, exactly what the Hive offers, like what you have there in terms of the physical space? And then we'll get to some of the programs and things like that. Sure. and opportunities. But walk us through kind of, mentally walk us through that physical space.
Yeah, so it's been in a couple different phases, and fortunately we've had the complete backing of Mayor Boczynski and his kind of vision to support this and really see it all the way through to where we're at now. But initially it's, we started during COVID. So like, people had pretty much made that decision in their mind that, hey, I'm going to work from home and, have a suit and tie on the way up, and, pajamas because they're working from Zoom. And, but I saw an opportunity that, the in-person aspect, regardless of what type of membership we maybe offer, was just invaluable. There's certain people, certain partners in the community, partners in drones and UAS and connected to the Air Force Base that just aren't going to make certain commitments and decisions over email. It doesn't happen over text, phone call, email. It happens in person. And so we kind of launched with basically, flexibility for anyone from one person startup that's going to be here every day or when they're in town to massive, international companies that are based out of the US and American owned that maybe have, 2,000 to 80,000 employees. And this is their North Dakota flag, headquarters, if you want to say it, North Dakota headquarters. And so we offer different memberships, some flexible, depending on where they're coming in from, how many times a month they're coming in, and then up to, dedicated, extra secured locked spaces. So, I mean, the entire building is secure. We have different kind of ways to make that as secure as possible, but that would be an additional kind of dedicated custom space that they can outfit however they want with new flooring, new, furniture, whatever they want to do. And that's completely dedicated to them. And then inside that we have, I think 6 kind of shared conference huddle rooms, if you want to call it, that members can take advantage of. We have pretty premier boardroom that I think when people think, wow, this is, if you want to look the part, if you have some workshop with the FAA or with, DOD, whoever, some, investor that you're trying to impress, this is the boardroom. This is the place to do it. It seats about 25, 35 if you want a back row, depending on what you want. Beautiful boardroom with a beautiful table with a steel inlay of the Red River separating North Dakota from Minnesota. So there's a story there. And then we also have the O'Leary Ventures kind of glass boardroom. That's kind of our marquee partnership. When you walk through the first floor, you see it right in the middle. That's also another space that we offer our members, anybody that's a member. And then we have 2 other classrooms, one that can facilitate any type of in-service. If someone's doing a hands-on, here's how you set up this platform, this drone, this ground control station. Here's how you set up our radar. Here's how you look at the screens. I mean, it's perfect for that. Probably seats about 20 comfortably, and the cameras will follow who's talking, super high tech. And then we have a smaller version of that right alongside that. And then you can see the photo on the left here. That's our huge event space with 2 stories high, ability to host. And that the 2 stories high, that actually used to be where the printing press was. So that natural structure was there for a reason. It actually went all the way to the basement. There wasn't a floor there. So the large printing presses could be monitored, from the second floor, kind of treehouse outlook, if you will, to that. So, we offer events for our members. They can host an event and have catering in a bar and a stage, and however they want to host, whatever enables them to do what they need to do, we host. So we accommodate.
Very cool, very cool. So just so I understand the model, basically you have everything from startups and early growth companies to corporate innovators, right? That are part of the Hive. So it's basically a membership model. Some people kind of, as you said, plant their flag there and have physical office space, and they work out of there every single day. And others may use it as their landing pad, if you will, for when they're in town doing business in North Dakota, to leverage your facilities, all those things you talked about. Did I kind of summarize that right?
Yep. 100%.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And I know just recently, Grand Sky, actually in collaboration with my company, P3 Tech Consulting, and the Venable Law Firm, held a counter UAS tabletop exercise
Yep.
there in one of your spaces. Again, I missed it, of course, but can you tell us a little bit about that, just as an example of how folks can leverage your space?
Yeah, that's a great example. I mean, that particular example is the community and kind of industry leaders and kind of who should be in the loop, doing an exercise around, defending the homeland, I believe it was called. I got a ton of good feedback from the new chief of police, the fire, to everybody who's involved. That's kind of just one example of, you kind of have to be here to see it, or, whether that's here in person or online connected to it. But with different exercises like that, we'll have, when the Part 108 dialogue was going back and forth, we have Northern Plains Test Site basically giving all the updates as they see it in real time from the Hive. So people coming down, they can ask their questions and get the feedback in before the deadline of that. I mean, those are just a couple examples of very, I don't know, right at the forefront of the UAS industry happening, evolving right from the center of the Hive. We just want to be the catalyst for that. We just try to enable whatever needs to happen. If it's mission related, we accommodate. That's kind of our little bit of our informal mission statement. Even if companies aren't members, or some group isn't a member, if there's something of purpose and value, we will accommodate.
That is awesome. And for those that follow Autonomy Global, and if you don't, you should, we did actually just have an article this week about that counter UAS tabletop at the Hive. So check that out. By the way, that website is in 15 languages, including Norwegian. I think we've got some possible fans from Norway out there. We'll talk more about Norway here towards the end of the show. So stay tuned, everybody. But so besides the office space and the boardroom and all of these other things, you also have some interesting maker spaces. Talk to me about that, because that was kind of the origin story, right? Like, you were in that building to make things, and I love that you stayed true to your roots in that respect. So tell us a little bit about the maker space opportunities in the Hive.
Yeah, I wish I could have a photo of what my makerspace looked like before the Hive. The other tenant that was still in here from the newspaper, one time our mail got switched, and I walked up and I said, yeah, I'm the guy on the first floor with the little corner office and the other space. And they're like, oh, okay. They were definitely having a hard time figuring out what I was working on. But yeah, so our makerspace, originally it started with a very small space that, had some plugins, tabletop, room for like some 3D printers, et cetera. And there's a soldering hood that was built in, which is really smart by, some of the folks that I had that we were designing the kind of construction of the building. And some of that happened before I was even involved, a year and a half prior to us even starting construction. So it was pretty smart to have an indoor soldering hood on the second floor of this old building, just in case someone wants to solder, or, for 3D printing, et cetera. And so originally it started as I brought my CNC machine from home, just thinking, oh, this might be something people can use. You can make, less about making, for that purpose, it was less about making drones. It was more about, this is kind of a break during the day. If someone wants to cut some cutting board for a wedding gift or things like that. And there were a couple 3D printers that we had that were, on loan, that were very small, like 10-inch base 3D printers, almost like, I don't know, very, very low end hobby 3D printers. And, we had a couple companies that sprouted up very quickly, that I had connected to some larger opportunities that I said, hey, if they come to Grand Forks and they have this need to build quickly, would you be able to sprout up this kind of maker lab? And they said, yep. And so they sprouted up a lab and they started using our maker space a little bit more. And then it kind of became the things that people normally wouldn't try to ever build with the $200 3D printer. A couple of the, aerospace experts, I could tell one day they said, oh, where's Johnny? Where's Johnny? And I could tell something was up. And the one kid said to me, he said, well, I'm really sorry. I broke, these 3D printers. And I said, I don't, what were you doing? That's great. And he said, well, we were building a 16-foot aircraft. And I just was like, what? Like nobody would even try. And they did it. And that really started, that flipped everybody's mind and thinking the whole building, all the companies start seeing like, wait, they built that in 2 days, crashed it, rebuilt it. It's better. It flies. How long? Like, how are they doing this in 2 days? And really in a self-service model where now there's 3D printers all over the building. Almost every office has a few. My CNC machine, I'm not even certain where it's at the moment. I think it's in the back of someone's truck because they were cutting some pretty advanced materials. And I said, that's fine. You can use it however you want, but maybe do that outside and put it. And so like it's literally in the back of one of the guys' trucks.
Oh, wow.
And they'll go out to the field tests and cut right on the spot. So now they're taking that, and I went in there this morning to one of the labs to see if someone was in there, and the 3D printers are running 24/7, and they're taking 10-inch base parts and then molding them all together, smoothing it out, and then they're wrapping it in carbon fiber, they're wrapping it in fiberglass, all these type of materials. And I mean, you see the end product and you think, this is DARPA quality. I mean, this is very advanced stuff that they're doing. And, they'll make 4 different versions in a week. And you just think, okay, well, that company can do this, but other companies might take 4 years to make something on a 6-year timeline. I mean, that model just won't work anymore. I mean, it just needs to be, you need to have it in your hands. You need to see what works, see what doesn't, fly test, some learning that comes from, controlled crashes. I think that's really great. And so they'll create these products and they'll go across the river to what used to be a little RC test range. It still is, but now they can kind of use that to iterate very quickly. It's 5 minutes away. They'll go test it, fly it, document it, take logs, come back, and then redesign everything. And a lot of the engineers, like they just skip the whole process of a whole nother group engineering with the bottleneck. They'll just create it on the fly themselves. And so they're making the whole thing, most of them can make the whole aircraft start to finish, comms, everything by themselves. So
yeah,
it's pretty exciting.
Well, that is exciting. So you're covering everything from basically meeting and collaboration, networking space, to manufacturing, to simulation and field testing and more. That's pretty wild. So here
That's a
we've
good
got it.
photo. Yeah.
This is a cool image, I think, of a simulator we've got going on here. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so these are the guys I'm talking about. So this is actually a simulator that they'll, use for training, but it's never enough for them, Don. So they take this and can actually roll it out, put it in a trailer. This will actually be the ground control station for anything that they're building. So they can fly right from here, actual aircraft from that setup. I mean, it's
wow. So it's like a remote ops center too, on top of everything else.
That's funny that you say that. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I'm looking at the amazing background you have there, and you've got this name, the Hive, right? And he evokes this idea of a place where a colony of bees, right? They're all working in tandem. They're all working together towards a mission. I assume that's why you ultimately named it the Hive.
Yep. And really like a cluster of drones is the Hive. There's so many play on words with kind of the Hive bee ecosystem. And yeah, like you said, everybody working together for just a common goal to to support the mission, which I guess is the queen bee, but the mission would be, the United States, capabilities with unmanned aircraft and anything that flies. So
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the connective tissue because you referenced this, remote control, RC hobby kind of area where people can fly things. But for anybody in this industry and probably a lot of people watching this, they know that North Dakota has so much in terms of, test ranges and business parks and all of, obviously University of North Dakota. So I'm just thinking, of course, Grand Sky, who,
yep,
we have the press release where they've taken over the management, of the Hive from the city or from the mayor and his team, as you mentioned. Um, of course, you mentioned Northern Plains UAS test site. And I want to talk about Kevin O'Leary, right? Anybody that's watched Shark Tank knows this guy. So let's walk through the connective tissue there and how the Hive connects its innovators and members to these other things that are part of the larger North Dakota ecosystem.
yeah. So the Kevin O'Leary connection's been amazing. It's been awesome. Paul, you see there, is his CEO, one of my closest friends. They're just an awesome partner of ours, and they're a true partner. I mean, they bring more to the table than we bring possibly to them. But that initially started. We took a chance. I took a chance on, hey, we should do a naming rights partnership, and I'll outfit this room that at the time I don't think we really had any budget to do anything. So it was more like having to call a friend, hey, we need to outfit this room with the signs, and we'll figure out later how this gets budgeted. And so we kind of designed this partnership, and thought, let's have Kevin come to Grand Forks, see if I can get on his calendar, and we'll do a puck drop at the hockey game. And so I think this was like right when we first opened, and maybe in August, and reached out to his kind of head of his whole, the backbone of his whole life, Nancy, and she had said, well, there's one day in the next 400 days that he's not booked, and it happened to be like February 26th of the next year, and that was like our
And
biggest.
what year was this, Johnny? The year that you guys collaborated in this partnership?
So we started the partnership, and we now it's even stronger. But we started it, let's see, 2022. Let's see if 2022 or 2023. Yeah, in the fall, and then he came. February was kind of our big event. We did the puck drop at the Denver hockey game, and just put him through the paces, showed him everything from Grand Sky to the outside the the base to UND to all the restaurants downtown, the Hive, different startups, and we really just went back to back to back everything. We had to speak at our chamber dinner. I mean, it was pretty kind of we didn't let him take a break, which is exactly what he wants. That's his personality. And it really started there. And then a few months after that, just getting to know their team, I started kind of bringing companies into the mix, kind of being the, I don't know, the kind of the pipeline for different opportunities for the Wonder Fund, which they manage on behalf of the state of North Dakota. So there's a fund tied to innovation that they manage. And so I would bring companies through there, started to do some tech due diligence for them with different drone related companies that I would kind of vet and figure out, like, is this a good fit for North Dakota? What is their, plan look like? What is their manufacturing? What is their hardware, software? Do they have what they say they have? Is it, does it meet the criteria? So starting to get to know them on that level. And then randomly I got an invite to the Shark Tank Symposium, which I was kind of like, I thought, well, I didn't go on the Shark Tank, but this is cool that I got invited, so I'd love to go. I don't know if it could work, and I really was going to make sure that I was going to go to the Shark Tank Symposium, and so that's kind of I got to go to Miami and kind of meet all the companies that he's interacted with professionally, invested in over the last 20, 30 years on the Shark Tank. So every company that made a deal on the Shark Tank was there, all the personalities, and just so many good people with so much entrepreneurial spirit. So that really just kind of just lit the fire for me of excitement around just like bringing their name to North Dakota and getting companies in front of them. And so I'm constantly looking for different companies that are looking for funding and the kind of right sweet spot for them. And I tried to, I try to do a lot of the vetting and kind of due diligence ahead of time just to make sure that, we're as kind of, I don't know, as prepared as possible for anything that gets in front of them, just because they have so much on their plate. But now we've done it a couple of times. I had Kevin out to Bismarck last April. We did a big event at the legislature, got in front of all the governor and everybody in the legislature, and then did a couple back-to-back fireside chats with different tech startups and UAS related companies. And then I think there was even a photo that went viral on Fox News, that was on Fox Business News, of North Dakota is the new Norway, which is funny because of everything that we're talking about now. It was a big push at what energy and UAS assets North Dakota has that maybe mimic something like Norway with their kind of sovereign wealth. So it's a small world, and the O'Leary team has been really great. They've invested in a few companies in and out of the Hive. Fly Guys is one of them that's coming. We're figuring out exactly what space they go into next to me here, and they're going to be a next next phase big time tenant of the Hive.
Okay, very cool. Fly Guys, love those guys. I see them in a lot of shows. By the way, Marius Fagerly possibly is out there.
Norwegian.
Great to see what you do best, Johnny. So you've got a fan out there
I'd say
saying
he's
hello.
got to be
So,
the northernmost fan that you've had on the show, probably.
all right,
69th degree. So
all right, very cool, very cool. So for people, we have a lot of people obviously that watch the show, Johnny, that are in the drone space, wanting to get into the drone space or enabling technologies or whatever. How do they tap into this Wonder Fund? In other words, what exactly is this thing? I mean, Kevin O'Leary's, venture group is managing this fund for the state of North Dakota. You said you're doing some due diligence and vetting for it, through the Hive. Like if I had a company and I'm like, all right, I need VC money because there's so many people that do, right? I need funding to, boost my efforts and my technology. Like, what is like step one? Do they just like reach out to you and like what qualifies? Like, in other words, is there a criteria or website where we can send people to learn more?
yep. So there is a website. If you Google Wonder Fund, it should come up. I forget. It's on o'learyventures.com. You can get through the links through there, and I can share that after too. There is criteria, so it's about you reaching out to them or through myself, and I can make that introduction and kind of see what where they're at on different things. They have criteria around this particular fund, the Wonder Fund, the first fund that they have, where they're you have to have well, they can't participate in a round above $20 million. So the round has to be 20 million or less. It has to have a physical tie to North Dakota. So whether that's marketing or an engineer or the head of office, or you move your whole headquarters there has to be a physical presence in North Dakota, doing business and helping, grow jobs in North Dakota.
Okay.
And then it can't be pre-revenue. So those are the three criteria that the whole fund is based around for that particular fund. And obviously, like their connections are global. So I mean, there's usually when they invest, they come in with another partner like an Acorn investment group or
Mhm.
some other big kind of hitter to come alongside them if they're the lead investor. But yeah, those are the three criteria. But yeah, other than that, like I mean, anyone can go apply. Submit their pitch deck onto the website. Just note that they're serious about that you're making a commitment to North Dakota, and so every conversation I've ever been in, if it's like someone isn't clear or interested at all in moving part of their operation in North Dakota, I mean it's a hard stop right there. So
Yeah.
which is great for us. I mean it's been a huge drawing interest point and demand point for us to have the conversations globally. I mean when you get companies moving from Miami to North Dakota when it's 25 below, or even Fly Guys when they showed up. Joe, the CEO of Fly Guys, who's becoming a really good friend, they had said we've never seen negative temperatures. I mean, they were like, "What is going on?" But they just get it, and they see like we really feel like, how are we not already in this place? This is kind of wild. It started with the O'Leary conversation, and then it really closes with all the opportunities here of everybody that's working on UAS.
Well, it's so important. Oh, we've got I'm gonna butcher this amazing name, Nyal Tang's
Yeah,
Abraham.
yeah,
Nyal saying go Johnny. So look, I'm in Colorado, Johnny. I think you know that. And just even from a personal and professional level, I reached out to some companies. I'm not gonna say who, because I'm like, man, I would love to bring drone delivery to Colorado Springs where I live. And I started making phone calls and people were like, yeah, man, it's like it's too cold there. And and when you look at even successful drone delivery companies like Zipline, where are they flying? Well, besides Africa, of course, they're flying like in the South. And
yep.
Walmart, all the stores, they're like opening all these, programs with drone delivery. They're all in the South. And so I love that you're bringing people to North Dakota and saying, yeah, we're unapologetically, yes, we have below freezing temperatures and you need to be able to fly here. So, like, let's figure this out together. Because what you guys do there is going to translate, of course, to Alaska, to Colorado, to like any place that has, cold weather. And that's just a thing, right? And Norway. So, I think that's a great bridge. We mentioned Norway. We've been teasing this the whole time. You guys went viral on Fox Business News as like, the Norway of the United States. Okay, so you guys are actually expanding to Norway. So tell me all about how this even happened and what we're looking at with regard to Norway.
Yeah, I think Niall. I'm just butchering the name so bad, but Niall, he's been a catalyst. He's from Norway Space Hub, which is a brand new entity. I think there you go. There's a good shot of that. So we went there last week. He's come back and forth a couple times, and we just started hitting it off, and kind of we just started talking about, hey, the what ifs of if they put like a similar Hive kind of setup in Norway to support some of these space operations and other things that fly. And lo and behold, when we went to visit, it was live. And so I appreciate their kind of time and effort. Innovation Norway is another group with Frederick and his team, and Marius, who's on the thing there. I mean, they're really just trying to advance UAS, space, aerospace, anything that they can in Norway. And now I think it's coming to fruition. They're great hosts, I can tell you that. And we really just were put to the paces and kind of saw everything that we could. So yeah, appreciate Noel and his whole team. And it was exciting to see. He was saying this kind of what Johnny and I had talked about, and it's live now. And so I mean, the pace that they move at is pretty crazy, because I think the most recent conversation was just a couple months ago, and they went and bought a location that was maybe overlooked and run down, and they flipped it, and now there's companies thriving in there way up north, doing some really cool things. So that will be kind of something that we definitely focus on, a partnership with them. So, and now
Well,
you can pitch that your site is in
I,
Norwegian.
I, yeah, I will. So first of all, I got to say Tom Sawyer from Grand Sky is on the net. He's saying Norway Space Hub is awesome, such great people. And look, Autonomy Global has 15 language plugins. Norwegian is one because Tom specifically asked me to add Norwegian to the website. I just started it in January. It's been growing exponentially. It sounds like the Space Hub and all these innovation spaces in Norway as well. And for a long time, Norway was like Norwegian viewers and readers were like my number two most popular group on the site. So guys, tell everybody, tell all your friends to sign up for the Autonomy Global newsletter and check out the site because they can read it in their native language. Norway has dropped off. Actually, I think right now we've got United States is still about a little more than 50% of our readership. China and Singapore are way up there now. So not surprisingly, we're covering a lot of defense and counter drone technologies. So we've got China, Singapore, UK, and India. I'd say are in the top 5 right now, and then it's just kind of a mismatch of almost everybody else for the rest of that pie chart. But look, Norway's been doing great things. With the ports and offshore energy and I've seen shows on the Discovery Channel with the renewables and just all the advanced technologies up there, and it's really cool, honestly, that they started that space hub because I just saw, the reason why we cover space, we cover drones, counter drones, we cover like AI, all the emerging technologies on Autonomy Global is because they're all interconnected.
Yeah.
And there was never really one hub for all of that, you know? And I just saw Quantum Systems as an example, right? Out of Germany. They're doing amazing things. They have a US presence as well. They just signed on with a space company.
Yeah.
Why? For position navigation timing, but like, of course, right? It just makes a lot of sense. So, I love that you guys are working with Norway, that you've gone global and brought that energy and spirit that you have cultivated in Grand Forks and in North Dakota to other places around the world. I was just in Tennessee, Johnny, and for the Drone and AAM symposium last week, and Northern Plains UAS test site, right? Trevor Woods was there.
Yep.
They're collaborating with the Tennessee Department of Transportation. And so you see like these offshoots of North Dakota now going across the United States, going globally. And I think it's really critical, honestly, because I've been a super fan for a long time. The first time I went to the UAS summit up there, it was like several years ago. And I tell people this, and I don't just say it because I think I go to a lot of places. I go to a lot of shows. It's very unique. The energy, the interconnectedness is palpable. And I love that you've added the Hive to the mix. You've got Grand Sky, you've got Northern Plains, you've got UND, of course, you've got the Air Force Base. And now you've got this networking / makerspace / almost everything accelerator, funding, hub right there too. So really awesome. We're getting kind of close to our time together, and I want to make sure we're covering everything, Johnny, that you wanted to let people know, as you are a global ambassador for the Hive, but also for North Dakota. And, for people that are out there listening from around the world, what would you tell them in terms of, what the Hive, what North Dakota can offer them?
Yeah, I mean, I think North Dakota is pretty simple. It's, for companies that are willing to show up here, I think they just get it. I mean, usually, I say if you show North Dakota love, like we'll show back 10 times. Like you show up here without asking for anything, 10 different companies will be going out of their way to make connections and not do the work for you, but just to make it smoother, landing here. And I think that goes a long ways. It just shows our commitment to working hard and really doing the work. And I think that there's technology here and people here that you just don't hear about. When you get here, you realize, okay, this is a really powerful ecosystem that is trying to grow all sides of it. And I think all are necessary for everybody to succeed. It's not just building a drone or flying a drone. There's radars, there's waivers, there's, the voice that connects to everything like yourself. There's, the experience that you have with legal. There's all sides of it, and all of it needs to work or none of this works. And so we try to provide that platform for everybody. I think one more shout out that I'll give is I see so much technology, software, hardware, and watching this gentleman speak about his hardware and see some of the demos, I almost cried. I mean, I just thought, wow, this is somebody so advanced, doing so much that could be used for different things in UAS. The company's called Myres. They're way north in Norway, and Bjorn, who's the founder, is such a personality with a serious gift. And if anybody's getting into digital twins, this is the guide to build the digital world that you need to replicate around anything that flies. And it's Myreze. I'll leave it at that. But it's hard for me to be that kind of blown away by technology. And what he's demoed in front of us was like, wow, this is the really cool future. And I think we're now cutting into that next phase. Hopefully North Dakota is continues to be a leader in that. And I try to, normally I wear my North Dakota hat everywhere I go, and some people say, oh, you dress down, but really it's advertising. So if I have to go to a steak dinner with a North Dakota hat on, then I'll do it. And
It's so fun. Well, I've got my Autonomy Global on right here. I actually almost wore my beanie because I have a really awesome the beanie that is hand tie-dyed from an artist here in Colorado. It's called the Spotted Owl is her company. And I just hired her to make a whole bunch of these that I'm giving out to my strategic partners and all my writers and things like this. But hey, something to be said for that for sure.
I'm gonna make you a trucker hat.
Okay, so sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll wear it.
And you have an excuse if you ever just want to rock a hat,
Okay, very good, very good. So, all right. Well, man, we've covered a lot of ground. As you look back on this year, since we're getting towards the end of the year. In fact, next week, we start December, right? And it's going to be the best of 2020, 5-month. True Weather Solutions is our sponsor that month. By the way, I know they are very plugged into North Dakota, and they go to your summit every year. And in fact, I have an article coming out soon from the summit involving Don Bershoff, the CEO, and a bunch of other companies on mission enablers as well. But so as you look back on the year, if you had to pick 3 things, right? 3 things either related to the Hive or North Dakota that you'd say really you're the most proud of, what would those 3 things be?
In the past year?
Yeah, just 2025.
Yeah, I'd say the initiatives happening around here just to make the sub layers of Golden Dome possible. I think counter UAS, the scent that everyone's picking up on and everyone just running with it here. I think that's probably number 1. That 2, I'd say we're already kind of we like to punch above our weight class, and it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher every week that comes by. There's 10x to 100x the amount of activity coming into North Dakota. We just know we're on the right momentum path, and that's great. And then I think, I'd switch the order of those. The number 1 is the makers that are here building stuff that you've never seen stuff like this. I think, there's innovation happening in Ukraine and the way that they do that. And then there's ones here that haven't seen any of that and are innovating in a way that I would feel is probably similar. So it's pretty impressive when they're not forced to innovate that way, to see that proactively they can think that way. I think that's probably the true kind of path forward for North Dakota. And that this last year has been all that for the last 360 days. I mean, a lot of these companies, in the middle of the night, they're like, check this out. Look what I made. Look what I made. And that's a pretty cool spark to have in between, a lot of companies.
Yeah. And Tom Sawyer's out there giving his love to Norway, their world-class technology and storytelling. And of course, Tom's been partnering with True Weather at Grand Sky as well. And I know there's the Meteomatics and Meteor Drone and all kinds, Flying Weather Lab, all kinds of things going on. I mean, the list really goes on and on. You can't cover it in one show. This is why probably Grand Sky had a series this year, and fun fact, will next year as well. So looking forward to that and learning more as we go. As you look ahead, Johnny, 2026, really right around the corner. What do you project? What do you predict in terms of the Hive and what you hope to see?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of synergy between what we're doing out in the eastern half of the state with the western half of the state. Not just Air Force DoD stuff, which is definitely our priority, but also some AI technologies and companies, member companies that are building awesome solutions around oil and gas, energy, OAIL.ai. That's one that we're working very closely with Travis and his company there. I think enabling any type of proactive, nefarious testing, I think, is what we want to be, known for in 2026. How can we set up the test resources to see, can someone 3D print something overnight, and what kind of squirrely signals and blocking and jamming could be done? If it can't be done here, then we'll have to figure out how to get it done so that, everybody can learn exactly what the lay of the land is and see how do we protect our installations, at all costs. So.
All right, cool. So I'm hearing, cybersecurity, AI, counter UAS, all of these things on the whiteboard, additional markets like oil and gas and the energy sector. So really exciting times coming for North Dakota. And then, of course, in Norway as well. So we're looking forward to following all of this and the stories that come out of there. So that's amazing. Johnny, in the meantime, how can people learn more about the Hive? How can they reach you?
Sure. Yeah, you can send me an email, jryan, JRYAN at hivegf.com. Reach out on LinkedIn. But yeah, it's we're pretty scrappy around here. A lot of things weren't on any agenda 2 week out blueprint. It's kind of a few are just like you can't really try to plan around when people show up every 3 days unannounced. We just kind of figure out what's the best way to enable that type of behavior. But yeah, reach out to myself and I'm always accessible. So my wife will attest to that I am pretty much 24/7 available for anybody that comes to the Hive or is interested. So
all right, looking forward to watching that partnership with Norway Space Hub and Andoya as well. So lots of exciting things happening, lots on the horizon. Thank you so much, Johnny, for walking us through, kind of that origin story for the Hive, how you got involved, how far you've taken it, and now this interesting, kind of collaboration with Grand Sky and expansion into Norway. I mean, what an interesting inflection point. And when you think of enablers, which Enablers 2 is this month, really, really cool. Clearly, you're enabling the industry. So I thank you for that. I thank everybody out there, again, for those that celebrate Thanksgiving in the United States. Me and my team, we are thankful for all of you, for our fans, for the people that we are so fortunate to have on this show, like Johnny here today, and for everything. So that's all she wrote for today, everybody. We will be back next week, rocking December with the best of 2025 and True Weather Solutions. In the meantime, we are out here.